Thank you. Thank you for that insight. Okay, let's bring it back home. Depending on how you vote or where you live, some say there's a crisis at the southern border here in the United States. Others say there isn't. The reality is there's millions of illegal immigrants flooding into the country, many of them being shipped to the East Coast. Fentanyl is pouring across the border. Biden moved some U.S. military troops, but gave them no authority, just proximity to the border. But a new poll shows that the vast majority of Americans want the U.S. military on the southern border, and they want them to go after the drug cartels to remove this fentanyl crisis. Do you ever see the U.S. military being deployed here at home on our border in order to strengthen it and protect it like we do other borders?
I will say to people listening is that's the last thing we want, is the American military operating on American soil as a combat force, because it's a combat force. It's not a police force. Yes, we have military police, but the U.S. military is organized, trained, equipped to wage war. Back when I was in the Marine Corps, back in the 1990s, I was with a unit that we helped facilitate the provision of select Marine Corps capability to the Border Patrol to help secure the border. Just what they're talking about now. We would send force recon units, we would send intelligence units, etc., to assist with this. And there was a tragic incident where in a known smuggling zone, there was an American citizen of Mexican origin who was walking with his, I think, goat herd, and he had a .22 rifle. He was plinking, meaning as he walks, he shoots a cactus. And unfortunately for him, the Marine recon team was in camouflage position there, and they were taking what they call effective fire because he was shooting at the cactus they were using to camouflage themselves. They returned fire and they killed him, an American citizen. That's what's going to happen if you put the American military on the border with Mexico. American citizens will be killed by the American military. Do we need to do something about the border? Of course we do. We absolutely have to. But I'm just saying to the American people that you don't want the military there, because one of two things are going to happen. The military is going to kill American citizens, or two, the military will have to become something other than the military, which means we are going to turn them into something that they're not designed to be, a domestic protection force. And if we do that, understand that we can't unplug them and then plug them into a war situation overseas. Our military exists to protect us from foreign threats, military threats. We're designed to close with and destroy the enemy through firepower and maneuver. What's needed on the border is more of a law enforcement policing role combined with effective diplomacy. We need to be engaging more effectively with the Mexican government about trying to solve the problem in Mexico before it becomes an American problem. We need to secure the border in an effective fashion, but the problem has become politicized. We've allowed politics to get in the way of a genuine dialogue about what's best for America. And this situation is out of control, and it's a humanitarian disaster. Whatever you feel about illegal immigrants, at the end of the day, they're human beings.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, human beings are suffering. Now, we may say that that's not our problem, but it is our problem because, we are the United States of America. We are a people of high moral character, and we have to look out for how can we justify sending military aid to Ukraine to defend the Ukrainian civilians while we turn a blind eye to the devastating impact that our policies are having on innocent civilians at the border. I don't know what the solution is. It's not my job. It's outside of my skill set to be, to say this is what needs to be done. But I think I can join in with the vast majority of Americans to say that something needs to be done. And I can say that my experience shows that something cannot be using the U.S. military, because that will only create more problems and it will result in dead Americans. And that's something I'm vehemently opposed to. I am a former Marine. I love our military, but the moment our military is in the business of pointing a weapon and pulling a trigger at an American citizen, then it has to cease to exist. because that's not what the military exists to do. It's there to defend us, not to attack us.
Let's switch gears. Final question. This one's a little bit fun, but nonetheless, it's in the news just today. A military whistleblower has come forward and is willing to testify to Congress and, if not to the media, that the United States military is in possession of non-human aircraft, out-of-this-world aircraft. Some of them, they have the vehicle itself. Others, they say they have the non-human life form that maneuvered that vehicle, and that now there is a secret arms race to reverse engineer the capability of these aerial vehicles. Do you think there's any credibility to this story? And if it did have any credibility, would this be the first thing the military would do, would be to quietly try to reverse engineer the technology for our advantage?
Wow. What was that? The X-Files. This is straight out of the X-Files. Look, I don't want to get, I don't want to alienate people. Do I believe that we are the sole intelligent life form in this this huge universe that we have? No, I don't believe that. That doesn't mean that I'm turning my back on religion. I'm not rejecting Christianity or any other form of religion. I'm just saying that, that I think what we call God, he is fully capable of having intelligent life form elsewhere in this universe.
It's a big universe.
It's a huge universe. So right off the bat, I can't reject this by saying I just think fundamentally it's impossible that could ever happen. Do I know of this happening? Look, I was an intelligence officer that had very high classification, but my classification didn't get me into Area 51, which is a place in Nevada where some sensitive technologies are tested, and it would seem to be a likely place where alien technology could exist to be exploited. Would this be the first thing that the U.S. military would do? You're darn right it would. The job of the U.S. military is to protect the United States and to some extent to protect our allies from threats. If we don't know if this is indeed an alien life form with alien technology, we don't know if it's friendly or threatening. We don't know what the potential is, and it would be irresponsible not to try and understand, the capabilities of this, and in order to build a defense against it. And once we understand it, to see if we can absorb those lessons into our own military capabilities. And let's just be honest. If this is a technology done by a non-human life form, that means that they're about 400 billion times smarter than we are, because somehow they got from there to here, and we can't get from here to there. We're having trouble getting back to the moon. So, this is a very advanced technology, and we would benefit from being able to decipher it. And then you get a national security standpoint, because if we feel that it's in our interest to know this technology, then we have to also feel that we can't allow other nations to know this before we know it, because then they acquire a strategic advantage over us. So we have to assume that if we have access to this technology, that other nations have access to this technology. So I guess that's a long way of saying two things. One, I don't know anything about this. This is just speculation based upon what you have told me. Two, it seems plausible. I mean, it's not implausible. I can't reject it. And if he says that he has this information, I'd be interested to see if Congress, because understand this. Here's the other curious thing. How many times has the Department of Justice shut down a prosecution of somebody by saying that we can't allow them to testify because of classified information? All the time. Many times people go before Congress and say, I want to testify on this, that, and the other thing, and Congress can't because of the classification. So let's see how this guy is treated. Yeah. Because I can guarantee you that if he has this information, first of all, even speaking about it right now should get him arrested instantly. he shouldn't be even allowed to hint that this exists. He would have had to sign non-disclosure agreements and all that. And Congress, trust me, Congress would not. There's no whistleblower clause for classification of this level. Um, so the fact that you and I are talking about this um, leads me to believe that this is not what it seems to be. Because if it was, this guy would never be allowed to talk at all. He would remember when Vanunu, he's an Israeli citizen who spoke about the Israeli nuclear program. He's the guy who released the photographs and everything. What did the Israeli government do? They arrested him. They prosecuted. They imprisoned him. They've gone out of their way to shut him up. So, and that's just about nuclear weapons. Imagine we're talking about the most advanced technology in the world. Even my dog gets upset about this technology, and it literally he wouldn't be allowed to talk about it. So that's the one thing that causes me to question the veracity of this story, because the fact that you and I are talking about it means that he's talked to somebody, and the fact that he's still around means that whatever he's saying is not of the sensitivity enough to get the government to shut him down.